is going to be how the periodic table is organized and the properties within the periodic table itself. So if you take a look at your periodic table, you should already kind of have a feeling that it's classified into groups and periods. And the difference between the two is that groups are vertical and periods are horizontal. I always thought of this little ... to think of periods are horizontally. But vertical groups, those are easy to recognize because those are the big numbers on top of each vertical column. Now, why is this important? Because groups have very similar properties. So all of group 1 elements are going to have the same basic properties. All of group 2 elements are going to have the same basic properties. Then over here in group 18, same basic properties. Group 17, same basic properties. So make sure you understand that. So if you're going to get some questions that are going to be based on the lines of which of these two elements are similar. And you always pick the one that are in the group. So lithium and sodium are similar. Nitrogen and phosphorus react similar. So that's the big thing I want you to get from that. Okay, here's a big, nasty looking chart, and you've got to write down all of these answers inside of it. So go ahead and pause it, because you're going to be held responsible for all of this. But I'm going to talk through it. And memorizing each one of these little boxes is not really going to be that beneficial to you. But I want you to be able to look at this and extrapolate some data from this chart. Now the metals of each of these groups, or the names of each of these groups, you do need to know. You need to know that group 18 is the noble gases. Group 17 is the halogens. Group 1 is the alkali metals. You do need to know those names. And then here's a trend I want you to see. Groups 1, 2, and 3 through 12, those are all metals. And then groups 17 and 18 are non-metals. So you can already see that metals are on the left side of the table, and the non-metals and the gases, those are all on the far right of the table. And then that's kind of shown on the next one as well. Solid, solid, solid. Obviously your metals, most of them are solid except for mercury. But your solid metals on the left, and then your gases and your liquids, those are all on the far right. Now malleable and ductile, we're going to define those in just a bit. You just need to know that group 1, group 2 metals are malleable and ductile, hammering into sheets and wires. But really when you think of malleable and ductile, you think of groups 3 through 12. Those metals are easy to bend into wires, and they can go into sheets really easily. Group 17 and 18, since they're gases and liquids, you can't make wires out of gases and liquids. You can't make sheets out of gases and liquids, so we don't consider those malleable and ductile. Then you have all three of these yeses. Groups 1 through 12, they all conduct electricity because they're all metals. You see the trends that we should be picking up here. Liquids and gases, we don't consider them to conduct electricity. And then you can read through, copy down the key physical properties. That's if you're given certain characteristics of an element and you're asked to kind of predict which group it's going to go into or what type of metal it is. That's where this part of the chart is going to come in. But the key chemical properties is what I really want you to get at. Group 1 elements are highly reactive. And we'll get into why they're highly reactive in the next unit. Group 2, they're still reactive, but they're not quite as reactive. I do want you to know that group 1 and 2 elements are stored with oil. That's because they can react with water in the atmosphere and they could explode. If you think of sodium, you mix sodium with water, it's going to explode, have a very violent, volatile reaction. Groups 3 through 12, they're less reactive than 1 and 2, but the thing with groups 3 through 12 is they don't react with water. You can put gold in water or silver in water and they don't change, they don't explode. Nothing really happens to them, they just kind of sit within each other. Some react with acids, and you can tell you're working with a solution of a transition metal is because you're going to have a color change. That's what I really want you to know, that colored portion right down there. And group 17 elements, these are very reactive as well. We work a lot with these. Fluorine, chlorine, bromine, those are all poisonous. Bromine's toxic, but they are highly reactive. That's what I want you to know, and it all has to do with their electrons. We talk about that next unit. But when found pure, group 17 elements, poisonous, toxic, but they are very reactive. They normally react with elements of group 1. Now group 18, these are your noble gases. They're called noble gases because they do not react. They have full valence shells. We call them inert. And that's really what you need to know. So pause it, write these down, write any side notes that I said. Now here are the terms that I was going to tell you about. Malleable is being able to hammer it into sheets without breaking, obviously. It's not going to be a sheet that doesn't break. Ductility is being able to be stretched out into wires. So malleable is sheets, ductile is wires, and luster is shininess. And that's all you really need for this unit. Go ahead and complete both practice sections.
It's so easy, a caveman could do it.